Hello and welcome. Try again. Hello and welcome once again to a very hot, almost midday here in Sri Lanka. Please forgive me for not being fully robed up this morning. I was for puja, pindapata, dana offering, but now I did try, but then thought between turning the camera on and sitting down here, I would just dissolve into a puddle of sweat on the floor. But now I'm sitting, it's quite cool in the fan. And it brings me on to the first comment question. We'll get on with that straight away. Do you ever miss an ice-cold pint of Carling? Carling, for those of you that don't know, is a lager, a type of beer, an alcoholic drink. No, I don't miss that at all. A nice cold soda is welcome occasionally, but no, anything with alcohol, I think, apart from we would be breaking the fifth precept as lay people, and monks especially, anyone trying to practice for that matter, it's the fifth precept, we mustn't take any intoxicants. That is, things that lead to heedlessness, so the opposite of mindfulness. The whole objective of this exercise is to practice mindfulness for as much of our waking day as we possibly can. And anything that affects our state of mind is going against that practice of mindfulness. But nevertheless, I don't miss the taste or the scenario the picture you're painting there at all. There is so much more to make up for those very limited and quite insignificant pleasures one has in the worldly life, living this life of tranquility, working on developing that quality, at least tranquility in the mind, and having the opportunity to develop that peace and tranquility of the mind each and every day, even when conditions are and can be a little uncomfortable. So, for instance, it's very hot, and some people would find that not conducive to their practice if they're not used to it. I mean, many people coming to stay in places like this on their holidays would have air-conditioned rooms. And even today I have this small electric fan plugged in. The electricity's been off for a good part of the morning, but it's just come back on again. And I do welcome that because it is very warm. But when you meditate, you're able to sit very still, you're not generating heat, and you can cool down internally. We are all, after all, practicing something that is to make us cool. Cool in the sense of temperature, and also cool in the sense of developing equanimity, unreactiveness. If you remember, if you're from my part of the world, or America, or the West, if you remember the good old days of the TV series Happy Days, starring the Fonz. Well, happy days as in being happy for our days, and the hero, the star, the main character of this program was an individual whom, an unlikely kind of character, represented the epitome, the idea of coolness personified, that of being absolutely cool in any situation, not losing one's head. And if you remember this program, you can relate that idea of happiness to coolness to our practice. And this is where we get coolness from, this is where we get happiness from, contentment, satisfaction from this practice. Based on the foundations of sila, the ability to develop samadhi and relax and become cool. I mean, not just because of the fan, but because I'm sitting here relatively still and just talking relatively peacefully in a calm way, relaxing. I'm becoming cool also. Prior to that, putting the camera, the phone on the table, plugging the bit in that needs to be plugged in, working out what button to press. I had to be aware mindfully of not overheating when perhaps it didn't look quite right or work as I expected it to. And this is mindfulness. This is what we practice. This is being cool, like the Fongs. If you don't remember that program, you're not missing out on what I'm saying. I think you understand the idea of coolness, equanimity, an unruffled, undisturbed nature that we can develop through this practice. When I say it's based on the foundations of sila, that is because whilst keeping these precepts, so not breaking any of the 5 precepts of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, or taking of those intoxicants, then that assists with this coolness. I don't know whether you can hear that or not, but it's very bad timing. It's this whole water tank scenario that we had to become familiar with in the previous location through the Vasa. Now, quite why that's overflowing at this moment, I'm not sure. These inanimate objects seem to know when I'm trying to talk. So that aside, developing coolness has to come from keeping the precepts, the ability to sit calmly in samadhi without any concerns about what we may have done, who we may have upset, where we may have transgressed those precepts. And the point of no drinking alcohol or taking any intoxicating substances is to ensure that mindfulness is always there. So we can't, through heedlessness, the opposite of mindfulness, the lack of being careful, accidentally, or through just, sheer mindlessness, break any of those other 4 precepts. So certainly I don't miss this ice-cold pint of whatever it was, lager, beer. And then also someone mentioned, I think it's coming up in another question, that it's advisable, it's often recommended in hot places like this, that we drink hot tea or hot coffee, as it has this effect of cooling one down. An immediate hot flush and then the feeling of cooling down. And yes, I've heard this, and in fact certainly in India, when you go on a house visit, I think possibly also here too, but I try not to go on many house visits, they offer you hot water as opposed to cold water. Now, I'm certainly not averse to having a nice cold soda or cold drink in this hot weather. It's very nice. Oh, my friend Nash has come to join me now. He's going away. I'd invite him in, but he'll start wanting to play, and that gets quite violent sometimes. Not me. He's a bit, that's why I'm calling him Nasha. Anyway, he's wandered off again. So yeah, this idea of drinking a hot drink to cool you down, and also with the content of caffeine, which isn't an intoxicant, but it's a stimulant. The heat of the drink and the caffeine content do tend to make you sweat. And the point of these taking hot drinks, as I understand it, is by making you sweat is how our bodies naturally cool themselves down. That's why we sweat, because the water evaporates. I sat down here quite sweaty, and the water with the fan and me sitting and cooling has evaporated. the sweat has evaporated, and that takes the heat away. Like liquid cooling of an engine. It's a way of transferring the heat away from the body through evaporation. Very effective way of cooling. But I see little point in taking a hot cup of tea or a hot cup of coffee if you're absolutely sweating, as they say, sweating like a pig already. I don't know why they say that, because I think the fact is pigs do not sweat. But anyway, you sweat to cool yourself down. If you're already really sweating, I don't think there's any need to have a hot cup of tea or a hot cup of coffee to exacerbate the problem. You're going to cool by just sitting and doing nothing. And really a lot of this practice is about that. Not sitting and doing nothing in a lazy way, but energetically, with enthusiasm and determination, sitting still and maintaining one's awareness on the meditation object in order that we become cool like the Fonz. I'm not going to try and do an impersonation of him because I can't quite remember how he behaved. I was quite young when that program was on. But nevertheless, it relates to this idea of some of the aspects of coolness we're trying to achieve. So hot tea, hot coffee, yeah, it is common, but I will drink coffee in the morning because I enjoy that if it's available, and if offered a cup of black tea in the afternoon, I can enjoy that also. And maybe even often with some sugar, because this can give us some extra energy. But you do sweat a little bit more when you have such drinks. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure I understand that question. So, as a schizophrenic, I tend to fall into overthinking. How does the first jhana, the breath, be enough for me? I think whether we are a schizophrenic or not, we all fall into this trap of overthinking. Papancha, it's called in Pali, the Pali language, overthinking. Now this subject of jhana coming up over and over again in these comments and questions, and I have mentioned I will talk about the jhanas. I've put it off because I'm seeing so many comments come in with regards to jhanas. It's making me wonder. It's making me think, not overthink, why there is so much emphasis, so much need to know. If you experience the rupa jhanas, the first, second, third and fourth jhana, you are experiencing a highly attained level of absorption in your meditation, and would not need to be asking me any questions about that experience, because you would have knowledge of that experience yourself, experientially. So the only reason I can think that people are asking about such matters as jhanas in the first and bodily form of the idea of jhana, rupa jhanas, and even people questioning about arupa jhanas with those of the mind. These are deep levels of absorption, highly attained levels of samadhi that are coming into question because you're looking for something to aim for, a goal. You're looking for signs to see a way of measuring how far you've got in your practice. Now this is completely contrary and the opposite to how one should try and see how your practice is going. What you should be looking at more is what qualities you are developing, how you are changing as a result of your practice during your everyday activities outside of your samadhi, outside of your meditation. Are you developing this coolness? naturally? Are you developing equanimity? Or even metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, joy for others, and upekkha, this equanimity, this unruffled nature about you, this coolness. If you're developing that, your practice is going well. And the more of those qualities you have, and they grow slowly, they develop slowly, through the efforts you put in with determination to practice regularly each and every day, you will find the ability to maintain your awareness on your meditation object becomes both more enjoyable and more easy to do. At first, it's very difficult to get motivation to sit for a long time, to sit and stay with the meditation object and keep your attention on it. But with time, with practice, we are able to do it for longer and longer. And phenomena will arise, feelings will arise, aspects that are described when you read about the jhanas will arise, both as physical phenomena, feelings, and mental phenomena, emotions. You don't need to have goals in your mind as to, okay, I'm going to sit now, and when this happens, I know I've got somewhere. In that way, it will never happen. Like the old expression, a watched pot will never boil, which is nonsense, because of course it will. What it is implying is that if you keep just concentrating on hoping and waiting for something to happen, that isn't the way to do it. The way to do it is to relax and just let it happen. So you sit and you allow your body to settle and in its own time relax. You don't sit and say, right, relax. That's never going to do anything. It's just going to tense you up, if anything. You just sit down and do nothing. And your body will, in time, eventually relax. Maybe when you go to sleep at night, if you have difficulty sleeping, it's because you may lay down and say, right, I must sleep, so I've got to be up early. But normally speaking, if we don't have difficulty sleeping, you just lay down and you go to sleep. There's no effort there. Now, we're not wanting to go to sleep, but it's similar in principle. You just sit and your body will relax. Your mind will calm. When your mind has the time to just settle, it will become calm, peaceful, tranquil, naturally, of its own accord. We have to have patience. Khanti, it's called in the Pali language, and this is another quality, a parami, that we're developing through our practice over many lifetimes. If you don't have a clear understanding of previous lifetimes and rebirth, it doesn't matter. You can see it yourself in this lifetime. And the way to measure your practice is just to look at how you react today by comparison to how you might have reacted a few months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, a few years ago, prior to beginning this practice. If you've only been practicing a short while, you'll still see evidence, differences in your behavioural patterns, your reactions, each and every day you practice. But it's very gradual. It's hardly noticeable. But in time, it's very noticeable, like aging. I've said it many times. You look in the mirror, there's no change. But you look at a photograph 10 years back, you can see a very different change, a change in your appearance, especially at the earlier and later stages of life. It's gradual. This is how we measure our practice. We shouldn't set these goals. But as far as your condition is concerned, how will the first jhana, the breath, be enough for me? Well, just watching the breath, it won't immediately be enough for you to stop you overthinking, but maybe stop trying so hard not to think. If you sit for some time and you just think, that's going to be also okay for a while. Sooner or later, you will be able to sit for a while without thinking too much, and eventually without thinking at all. Ultimately, when you are experiencing the jhanas, you will see for yourself, experience for yourself, no thought. You will see for yourself, experience yourself, seclusion from the 5 hindrances, seclusion from all sensual desire, all ill will, from tiredness, from restlessness and worry. You will have no doubt, once you're able to develop even the stages of samadhi leading towards the jhanas, you already will have extinguished doubt about the practice, the idea of meditation, and also seen for yourself through the practice and experience of meditation the real meaning of the Noble Eightfold Path, the practice, but what the Buddha taught us, the Four Noble Truths. Because you're seeing clearly suffering. You're seeing the cause of suffering, and by seeing and understanding this cause of suffering, desire resulting from greed, hatred and delusion, you are able to, even if you don't experience the end of suffering, understand the way to get there, which is that Noble Eightfold Path. This is the Four Noble Truths. Truths as in it is the truth. There can be no doubting actually the truth, because it isn't a requirement of belief. It isn't to be believed. The very nature of the word truth is that, just that. There can be no doubt. But just knowing it isn't enough intellectually. It is knowing it experientially. And we are all suffering. And when we first sit to meditate, there's no better way to identify both physical and mental suffering on the spot. Because it takes some time, and often many hours, many days, many weeks, months, years even of practice, before we can sit comfortably for a long time without these hindrances and be able to have seclusion from them and begin to enter the jhanas. But whether it's the 1, 2, 3, 4 rupa jhanas or the 5, 6, 7, 8 arupa jhanas, if you want to read all about these stages of mental development and how that is, it's all there, contained in the Abhidharma, a very big volume of text that you can study for the rest of your life. But you could also sit and read a menu in a very nice restaurant. But that is not the way to enjoy the food. You need to actually order the food and eat it, to experience its taste, its flavour, its texture, what it's all about. Not read about it. You need to just do it. Just that. So sit and stop thinking about it. Samadhi is enough. One word. Sila, moral virtue. Samadhi, meditation. Keep it simple like that. Is panya, wisdom. In the Noble Eightfold Path we have, in the category of meditation, sati, samasadi, right mindfulness, and samasamadhi, right meditation, or right concentration, sometimes it's translated as. But this is putting the two together, because you need to develop mindfulness in order to keep awareness on your meditation object, to become absorbed in that meditation object and secluded from the hindrances. And you need to continue to practice this focus on a meditation object and the ability to stay with that, to strengthen mindfulness throughout all of your daily activities. So it's like two sides of the same coin. or the back of the hand and the palm of the hand. One cannot be without the other. And this is what we're developing when we sit and do nothing, very little. And the attributes that come along with it, the qualities we develop, are what are the evidence to show you how far you've progressed along the path. So, right, I mean, this is a strange one. You can become self-realized by chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra and following the 4 regulative principles. 1, no illicit sex. 2, no gambling. 3, no eating meat, fish and eggs. 4, no speculating. No speculating. Okay. Right, well, yes, I don't disagree with any of those, and they're fairly in line from another faith with the principle of our 5 precepts that I've just mentioned. So, however, I think whatever you're chanting, whatever words you use, as a mantra, if you feel like chanting, as an aid to calming the mind prior to meditation, for example, I don't think the words particularly matter, as long as they're relevant to your practice or your faith and they're wholesome, so have a good meaning. So, I mean, if Hare Krishna is what floats your boat, then that's fine. But whether you can gain, if you become by realization, you mean enlightenment, then there's different ways to doing it. I don't think the number of times, 16 rounds or so many times, is that significant. Who's counting and who made up that number? This is something that has to be believed, of course. This isn't a truth. I'm not disagreeing with those nice principles of good behavior. It's part of Sila, but it isn't what the Buddha taught us. This is a different religion. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. So, there it is. Would you happen to have any guidance or advice So I can't read the whole question, it's rather long. Basically, someone isn't maintaining continuous motivation to meditate. So someone is writing here, their experience is such that they'll meditate for a period of time, say a couple of days or weeks, and then for some reason or another just don't, and then they lose the motivation to get back to it, but do, and then they have spells of meditation again. Yes, I mean, this is quite common, but one should not push oneself so much in the first place. Set a regular pattern to your meditation. And if you have time to meditate an hour every morning, well, everybody has time, firstly, to meditate 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. You just have 1 hour's less sleep in the morning and 1 hour's less sleep in the night, in the evening, at the end of the day. So even if you lose 2 hours sleep, you're gaining 2 hours meditation, which is just as, ultimately, it is just as restorative, if not more restorative, than sleep itself, in terms of its effect on the body and mind. So we can use the beginning or the end, or preferably both, of our day to incorporate meditation regularly into our daily lives. Now, it doesn't have to be an hour, even if you make it just 15 minutes. Join me in the morning for the chanting, or not necessarily join it live because of time zones, but take 15 minutes yourself, maybe after a little chanting, and sit and meditate every morning. It's no time at all. Keep this regular routine. It becomes part of your daily routine, like cleaning your teeth or whatever one does each and every day. and then it becomes a pattern, less of a chore, less of getting worked up to do something. You just do it automatically. Don't expect it always to go well. Maybe you sit one day and all you do is think. Maybe you sit another day and you attain to deep levels of samadhi, and then the following day it's not so good again. This can happen. It doesn't matter. If you're continually meditating each and every day, eventually it will smooth out into an even practice. And this is where it becomes enjoyable. And it's through the enjoyment of this practice that we get the real motivation. And then we really want to start trying to find places in our day at other times, in our lunch break, in our tea time, any opportunity we get to have more of that enjoyable aspect of our practice, our meditation. And then we find more time. Let's face it, if you've got a really, a great thing you love doing, you really want to do, even when you're at work, you might sneak off and get a little bit of that time. And, whenever you find a moment to, say you're reading a good book and you really can't wait to get to the end, any minute you get, any opportunity you get, you'll grab the book and dive into it again. Meditation will become like that when you enjoy it, like a good book, when you can enjoy being absorbed into it. This is where the motivation comes from, and this is how it evens out. So you're asking me in your email how you can even out these behavioural patterns by regular determination and regularly putting in the effort to meditate. So what did I say in my actual answer? Yeah, about that. Just make a determination to meditate every day and make it part of your daily routine. Okay, the next comment. This place looks like not from this world. I'm guessing that meditation itself there is effortless. Energy isn't polluted. Well, this place is very much of this world, as you just heard the train going by, and we had the water from the tank in the building next door overflowing. There's the heat, the fan, a hard floor. It's very much of this world. But yes, it's different perhaps to the world you're in at the moment. But this isn't where our meditation is. Our environment shouldn't affect it too much. Actually, what you see when we're looking at where I've been living over these last few years in different places is perhaps not such conducive environments to meditation as one might find in, say, meditation centres, organised venues, because they're of course organised around supporting new meditators with some kind of quietude, peacefulness that is, and an evenness of conditions, temperature, some comfortable, say, cushions or mats or something like that. Things to make people less concerned about the physical conditions and able to just allow or hope they can watch their minds and practice the meditation. Now, certainly, that I wouldn't say is the case here or many of the places that I've stayed in. But for the experienced meditator, one, given the support, which is largely why I'm living in countries and places like this, that is around me, that is the conditions that I require to be able to meditate for long periods of time, day in, day out, year in, year out, really. Because I'm not having to be concerned about accommodation, about my food, about my clothing or my medicine. Those four requisites are provided. But that is as a result of living in what is perhaps not culturally a place where I'm used to. Conditions geographically different from where I was brought up. But neither of these things matter, because that is not what I'm doing in my practice, and this isn't where our effort comes from, energy comes from. So I wouldn't say anyone meditating anywhere will find it effortless. Put someone in a sensory deprivation chamber, so they've got no disturbance whatsoever, they still have the mind to deal with. This is the problem. This is the battle. All of the stuff outside is just a distraction from that to deal with first. But you can experience just as much turmoil and difficulty in an ideal location as a difficult location. Now for me, this is the ideal location, but not for everyone. Energy isn't polluted. Well, you know, there's different forms of pollution wherever you go. I'm not a big fan of this, hey, the energy is so great here. This is like the ambience, the feeling, the atmosphere of places. I mean, you can go into some churches or some temples or some mosques and you will certainly feel a sense of peace. But this is a lot to do with the construction of the building in itself, the physical nature of the building, the attitude of the people visiting that place and frequenting that place, either working there, practicing there, praying there, worshipping there, whatever the religion. The atmosphere created by those two factors is what creates this feeling of peace and tranquility or energy. It's nothing really that magical or mystical. So this has a wonderful energy about it, this room, because there's nothing in this room. But one could put a big TV there or something like that with lots of movies going on it and speakers here and flashing lights, and this room will become something very different. This is as a result of energy, electricity and physical properties of objects you put in a room, but the energy in this room now is that there's nothing much here. And it's another kind of energy. So yeah, I understand the unpolluted nature of that, but we can all do that. We can all find space in our homes to, you know, practice a little bit of this, what they call feng shui. Yes, just all that really is about energies and how you organize stuff in a room, how you position furniture. But really what it is about keeping it simple. Every room I ever stay in ends up exactly the same eventually, because I, as best I can, make sure anything that was in there before goes. And this was an empty room, so it was very easy. I could just put my mat down, my bowl down, sit down, and that's it. Someone put my Buddha Rupa up on the wall there, job done. That's my energy put into the room and everything all created. So let's, not sure I answered that question very well, but there we are. I didn't quite get all of it. That's not a question. So why have I put it there, I wonder? This was the question about hot tea and coffee. Right, we've done that. Okay. After the three situations, I think that might mean citations. After the three citations of Namo ... Namo Tassa, what is the translation for the next few lines you recite? I think this is when I say, and you'll often hear monks say Namo Tassa 3 times. I'll just say it, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa 3 times, followed by Buddhang Dhammang Sangdang Namasami. All that is I pay homage to the Buddha, Buddhang, Dharma, Dhammang, Sangha, Sanghang. Namasami, I pay homage to. That's all that means. It's just a little add-on, we often say. Okay. It's funny to see your hands placed in a casual way, like in Soto Zen Zazen. You have to pay so much attention on the mudra. Great to see this diversity. Okay, so when I meditate, my hands are in this position. Now the reason for that is this way. My ears are in line with my shoulders are in line with my elbows are in line with my hips. So my spine is straight and my hands are resting, just left hand in my lap, right hand on top of that palm, thus. And then just for a little centralization, my thumbs may just lightly touch. Now there is no effort required in that other than to maintain that posture for as long as one finds it necessary or wishes to meditate for. Now this is the common posture adopted in Theravada Buddhism, meditation, I would say in the Thai Forest tradition predominantly. I'm not sure about meditation in other aspects of Theravada Buddhism. Certainly some of it there isn't much meditation. So in my background, this is the usual mudra, means posture, position of the hands, the usual mudra that is adopted for practical reasons, nothing magical, mystical or energy linked in this. Now there are other ideas of meditation in other religions. Now I don't know anything much about Soto Zen as our Zen, as you're mentioning, but for instance this posture is one that you commonly see in yogic traditions. Now I don't think this is a good posture. Firstly, this is pointless, this is about magical, mystical energies, this forefinger and thumb touching. But having your hands on your knees in any shape or form gives a tendency to be leaning forward, leaning on your hands, on your knees. You're creating a triangular effect. So you might as well just go like that, really. It's not going to invoke energy, the real kind, virya, energy, throughout your body that sitting upright, erect, with a straight spine does. What this does, with your bottom firmly on the floor, or on a cushion if needs be, but my bottom is firmly on the concrete floor, my two knees are firmly on the floor, that's a triangle. My spine is straight, if I'm meditating, like this. And this way, I'm not leaning any way, but my head, the heaviest part of my body, is supported on my spine by gravity running down through my spine, and this gives you an awake feeling, a tangible reality in wakefulness, because the minute you start to doze or feel a little lazy or even tired, you will go usually this way, or maybe that way or that way, but usually this way. And it definitely jolts you back up again, wakes you up. So there's no danger in this position of you being able to doze off. Your chin tucked in slightly like this, so that your eyes naturally, not looking up or not looking down or sideways, are looking about 3 feet, a meter in front of you at the floor. This is the posture I choose for those reasons. Everything else you see or I see and hear about is unnecessary. Now, of course, you don't have to sit like I choose to sit, but it's just that this is the way we see most depictions of the Buddha. In iconography and in statues, I know, of course, they came much later than the Buddha himself. There are the other 3 mudras that are representative of the Buddha image, but the usual meditation mudra is that of, I'm pretty sure my Buddha Rupa here is sitting like this. Without looking, I can't be 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he is. There has to be a reason for that, doesn't there? He's not, you don't ever see a Buddha, ever, sitting like that. And I'm a Buddhist monk, and we're talking about Buddhism, so this is something else. And I'm sorry, but I don't know about Soto Zen and Zazen. Zazen, as far as I know, is just the way, is just sitting meditation. So I'm missing a whole question here. Though I kind of... Someone was asking me... I'll just have to try and remember it because I can't find it. Was asking me where the nimittas appear in samadhi or jhana. So back to this jhana questioning again. And there's nothing wrong with that, and I will talk about the jhanas at some stage. But nimittas are usually referring to lights. But the translation from Pali to English, nimitta, is signs. And yeah, we're looking for signs on the way to see how our meditation's going. But like I said previously, we should look at our progress, look at our behavioural patterns as the measure, because there are no obvious signposts whilst we're meditating. If we're watching them, we're losing attention from our meditation object. We're losing mindfulness. We're being distracted by phenomena. So even if you just close your eyes now, it's not just black, absence of everything. You'll see lights. And in meditation, you'll see phenomena, lights. And in deep absorbed stages of samadhi and the first, at least, jhana, there can be nimitta, these bright lights, auras. They can be of all different manner and descriptions of seeing, but it is just that, seeing, albeit with your eyes closed. It is a visual effect, mind generated. It's in the mind. It is an illusion of, but it is phenomena, and should be regarded just like I can hear Nasha the dog out there panting now. I'm hearing that sound. Seeing nimitta, I'm seeing this light. If you get absorbed and attached to that, that will replace your meditation object and become your meditation object until it disappears, and then you will have to start again. If you can maintain attention on your meditation object, that phenomena in turn also will pass, enabling you to continue with awareness of your meditation object into the next level of absorption in your meditation, rather than being distracted. So the answer to your question, is it in samadhi or jhana? Well, samadhi and jhana are much of the same things, and there's different stages within each. It's absorption in meditation, and there will be nimitta, there will be phenomena, hearing and seeing and physical feelings in meditation at all varying stages, until such a time that you are so fully absorbed into meditation, secluded from the hindrances, but in the, say, second and third jhanas, where there are phenomena, but of an emotional nature, more so than a physical nature of seeing and hearing, or thought. So thought no longer is there in the, there is still thought in the second jhana, but not in the third. But we'll cover, well, I'll go through those. If I come round to talking about jhanas in any detail in the near future, I'm only coming from a place that, where the subject has been written down. There are so many things in our lives we don't try and describe, because they're indescribable. But it seems there's this great insistence and requirement for us to try and describe something which is very indescribable, such as the jhanas or nibbana or enlightenment. So that's what you must remember. Next time someone says, oh, they're in love, they've fallen in love, are you going to say, oh, please can you describe to me how that is? What is that exactly? Is there a book on how to do that? Is there a step-by-step guide? What stage of love are you at? No, you wouldn't ask these questions. You wouldn't expect to be able to answer those questions yourself, even if you were deeply in love. So why do we try to ask these same questions and dive deeply into analysing something which is of a very similar nature? I'm not sure. But we can talk about it. As I say, the Abhidharma does cover this in a detailed and step-by-step way. But I prefer to practice based on the Vinaya Pitaka and the Sutta Pitaka. The third of the true Pitaka is the third basket, is what Pitaka means, and Tri means three, is the Abhidharma, which I pay little attention to with regards to my practice, because all that's contained in the Sutta Pitaka is there to show us how to actually sample and taste the food. And the Abhidharma is simply a very detailed menu of what's available. That's the way I look at it. So on that note, I hope there's something of use there you can apply to your practice, and that your practice is going well. You can join me in the morning for daily chanting, or at any time, because they stay on YouTube forever. And if there's something useful, please use it. If not, then just let it go. Be happy and stay well. Sukhi Hotu.